Hi there, I'm Zoot Java. I'd like to talk about how people are looking at rights in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. It seems that there are all sorts of people looking sideways at their governments at this time all over the world, as they seem to be out for a mad power grab to enable themselves to avoid having to go through the usual methods of trying to get their agendas passed. They are rubbing their hands literally with glee at the thought of being granted temporary, all-encompassing power or a stepping stone towards this. They can see many people panicking with this pandemic and the way that it is not only killing a few people, but blowing it up into having us believe that if we don't isolate ourselves indefinitely, the population of the planet as we know it will cease to exist. The panic that governments are saying that they want to avoid is exactly what many at the top are absolutely hoping for. A widespread panic with people going mad in the streets will allow them to instantly bring an authoritarian answer to the problem. Ironically, the people most in favor of the government's going hard authoritarian are a lot of those who benefit most from it not being like this. In one respect, it has been a little refreshing not having to listen to these whining SJWs who have nothing but time to run around causing chaos, demonstrating against all sorts of nonsense, making ridiculous demands, and generally just behaving like giant-sized toddlers not getting their own way. With the times being what they are, and so many people scared to death of this virus, being isolated from everyday life, having so many people not able to work and many others losing their jobs or businesses and thus causing the world's economy to go into a tailspin, the bulk of the people who simply put up with and endure these SJWs going off on their whining tirades about how bad they've got it because they need a safe space, how words are violence, how it's a human right to ignore nature and identify as a penguin or whatever flavor of the day crosses their two brain-celled minds. Well, these people, the sane people, who just daily shrug their shoulders and put up with this crap as they go on about their day doing something actually constructive normally, are fed up with it. A lot of them know someone affected directly by the virus. I know someone in an intensive care unit right now trying to fight it off, for example. So, normal people who've been putting up with the SJW nonsense have just about had a belly full of it because it started a while back and it never stops. These characters don't quit. They can't simply get their own way and go on with their lives. They have to push and push and push and become progressively. Does this term sound familiar? Progressive? More angry, hostile, and antagonistic against anyone who even questions their motivations. The people who have been on the receiving end of their constant badgering and vitriol now have their lives tossed upside down by this virus. They don't want to hear all this consistent nonsense anymore at all. They have begun to reach the end of their figurative ropes. Pushing them at this moment in time is most definitely not in the best interests of these SJWs. These people will begin to give it back as good as they've been forced to accept this garbage. If confronted, you'll see many of them saying that they just don't care and they never did care anyway. They may have lost their jobs, any money that they had, and their lives are now dismal prospect-wise. They may have a friend or a family member affected by the virus, sick with it, or even some who have had people they know or relatives died of it. They don't care about you wanting to be a starfish with no gender, or your unsubstantiated facts about women getting 2.5 cents less than a man, mainly because anybody will wind up lucky to have any kind of a job at all when this finally gets things canceled and is back to normal as possible. Even then, They won't care about these groups. And you want to talk about privilege? These so-called activists are fighting for crap that can only exist in a society that is so privileged that it would have been unimaginable even 50 years ago to hear someone seriously entertain the idea of these agendas. When everybody has little to eat, or their their own agenda dwindles and they can't earn very much, your whining about these ideas are the very least of their concerns. It would be most definitely a great idea to shut up about these little activistic projects and save it for a few more years, as nobody is quite certain how long it will take for the economy to bounce back, and the whining will land on quite a few deaf ears. But oddly enough, it has been a lot of these leftists encouraging the authoritarian rule to be given to world leaders. They look at this as a great idea, as they can get all their crap pushed through the government without having anyone able to stop it. Be very careful what you wish for, because it can blow up in your face. Years ago, I worked with a guy who came from a very oppressed country, and his grandfather said they all banded together to overthrow the government and put in place a guy who was there to do what the people wanted by dictatorship. It was a big party when they took over, with everybody dancing in the streets. But right after that, everyone was told what they could and couldn't do. The military was the police, and they cracked down hard. You could get hauled off the streets, taken to court or jail without a trial. Simple infractions saw people jailed for years. They never saw it coming. But any authoritarian rule is a nightmare waiting to happen. Never think it couldn't happen in your country. After all, the German people never saw Hitler taking power and doing what he did. Don't kid yourself. It can happen to your country too. Now, for the part you've all been waiting for, my bad joke. In times like these, our leaders have to demonstrate the utmost in diplomacy. For those that don't know, diplomacy is the art of convincing people to do what you want them to. Anyways, don't forget to like and subscribe, because it really helps me out. Hit the bell for notifications of more of my words of wisdom, and share my content on all your social media, as I get censored by all the usual suspects. Until later, have a Java on Zoot.